Hello, this is Daniel here, and today we will be talking about cognitive flow, which comes from Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, and this is going to be a reflection as an educator. Let's begin with a quote from Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. The best moments in our lives are not the passive, receptive, relaxing times. The best moments usually occur if a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. Some of our greatest achievements happened because we had to push ourselves, doing something very difficult but voluntary. And that's important. It needs to be voluntary. And it also needs to be worthwhile. Now, worthwhile doesn't necessarily need to be productive for human society, not necessarily. Worthwhile is something that helps us as individuals achieve our um, happiness. And the philosopher coming out of me, as that's been my focus of studies in my bachelor's degree. I'm a philosophy major. Is we are truly happy when we do something that I think going with Mihai Csikszentmihalyi pushes ourselves, something that we feel we have really achieved. When things come easy, we we don't necessarily feel like we deserve it, or we don't necessarily feel like we are truly happy. I would like to actually listen to Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, and I want you to pay attention to the different characteristics that he talks about on what is flow, because this will be important to my personal experiences of flow. So let's listen to it.
And it's a feeling. The flow experience mostly seems to consist of 8 or 9, depending how you call it, how you slice it. 8 or 9 characteristics. First of all, there has to be a kind of a clear goal that you want to do that allows you to act, and the goal should not be too difficult or too easy, but um, fairly well matched to your skills. And then the activity as you start acting towards the goal should provide feedback, immediately feedback, so you know step by step how you're doing. Then the experience begins, and it begins with a concentration that becomes more and more focused until you essentially step out of your everyday reality into a world that is defined and restricted to your activity. It makes you aware of what type of challenges you can take on that would make you experience flow. I'm not sure you would experience it uh, more often, although I would bet that if you know what your strengths are, you would avoid, trying to do many things that you would be either above your head or not in your nature, so to speak. So I think that's what I see the connection between VIA and my work is more. I'm focusing on the experience of a person who has achieved the balance of challenge skills. But what the challenge and skills are, that I can't tell very well, but unless I know a lot more about the person. And the VIA would kind of direct my kind of diagnosis of this person by saying, okay, have you tried X? Have you tried Y? And and give them a kind of a entree into how they could use that strength. And if that works as it should work, I bet that person is going to be in flow more.
So I would like to focus on one point when we get into my personal experiences of flow, and that one point is that there needs to be a clear end goal. You need to feel like you achieve something. There also needs to be a fine balance between what we're capable of doing and what is challenging. If it is too hard, then we feel like, and we know that we won't do it, then we're not going to be in a state of flow. So, getting into my personal experiences of flow, I have, I want to share actually three, and they're kind of random, but these are areas of my life that I experience time going by super fast, and I'm they're definitely not, for the most part, super productive for society per se, but in my life, and there's a lot of memories attached to these different um, experience of experiences of flow. So I could even delve into whether flow can be a part of like it helps us relive experiences in our life. So the first personal experience of flow is for me is building models, particularly out of balsa wood. Now I'm no expert, and I've only built a few, but when I build these things, the ability for them to be, um, it looks difficult. You learn a lot. You're using X-Acto knives. Um, Time goes by very fast, and I'm I see the end result as I do it, and my end result is going to be, can this thing fly when it's supposed to fly, or can it not fly? That's the pretty much the end result. And if it can fly, then it's a success. I remember building a P-51D Mustang, and it flew like a brick. So I failed, but it was still an experience of flow. And right now I'm working on a tiger moth, as in this picture, and it's going to be covered with a plastic skin, and it'll look very interesting, and hopefully it can fly. Otherwise, I've invested um, a lot of money into something that failed. But this is more of a hobby, but it's still a experience of flow. The other one is definitely a little more productive, and what you see before you probably don't even recognize where these are used necessarily. But I really love sound, and for me to watch a good movie, needs to have. I think the sound is oftentimes more important than the video. So here before you see cinnamon grade speakers from JBL, and I've helped with some auditoriums and doing mixing and doing some sound. I'm not a sound expert, but I'm self-taught, and some people have um, I've helped put up speakers in three different uh, conference room slash auditorium settings, and the time goes by fast, even though this is work. I really, really enjoyed it at that time. And I even now invest in, for example, a good pair of headphones while I listen to music. So maybe this is more passive, but finding the different nuances in time really is something that I find powerful, and that puts me in a state of flow. I remember one time I was listening to music and literally cleaning the bathroom with my wireless headphones, and because the sound was so beautiful, I did a deep 3 hour clean of my bathroom, just, and it sounds obsessive. It's not like I do that every day, but that's an example of the kind of flow that I can get in when there is good sound. Finally, the more active one is surfing. I'm terrible at surfing, but I love it. I used to do bodyboarding and surfing in California and Santa Cruz, and I've been a few times to San Diego and to Los Angeles, Huntington Beach. I'm not very good. I'm definitely not like this guy. I can't shortboard. I can barely longboard. Probably not anymore because I've been out of practice, but I love the waves. I love the ocean, and I can be in a freezing cold Pacific Ocean for 3 hours at end as long as I have a wetsuit. And I used to do that every single Monday, and I would just love it. That's where I got my exercise from the bodyboarding or from trying to surf. And I never really got good at it. And my goal was to one day be good at it. I never achieved it. But one day it's kind of my dream to go back to just going out there in the waves and surfing away. And that is, I think, when you talk to surfers, that is like the epitome of flow. You're doing something active, you're doing something challenging, you're doing something that even if you fail 1,000 times, that one ride that you got off that awesome wave is going to be memorable. And this all ties into the classroom, into what what we've listened to in my previous quote and in my previous video selection, but as well from other classroom education theories on flow, that there has to be something very clear, a clear objective, something achievable. It cannot be easy, but it cannot be impossible. So it has to kind of fit within each individual's aptitudinal framework. And finally, going off of one of my other references, which is not directly linked here in the talk, but there has to be an intrinsic motivation. I surf because it's the experience. I build models because I want to fly them. I listen to beautiful sound because it's something that I find beautiful. So no one's giving me candy. I'm getting beat up while I'm surfed, and my limbs are like stretched to the worst positions ever. And I've smashed my head in the sand with the wave tumbles over me, but I do it because I love it. Or I build models and they fail, but I still had an amazing experience doing it. So intrinsic motivation is very important. So these are a few of my thoughts, and they definitely can have a powerful place in the classroom. Finally, as a show of my references, I picked three, two of which are directly related to the individual who is credited with coming up with this theory of flow. Thank you very much.